But Immigration New Zealand was available. Their national manager for refugees is Andrew Lockhart. Just a few minutes ago, I asked him to explain how it is that the refugee vetting process works.
First thing is that as part of the referrals, UNHCR undertake an assessment. So all of our caseloads come from referrals by UNHCR. They will look at exclusion and security issues when they're doing that, and they can choose not to refer where they've got those concerns. When they come across to us, then we'll make an initial assessment to determine immigration risk and security risks, and those occur before anybody goes out to undertake those interviews. And then when the interviews are conducted, they look at the credibility around the claim itself, they'll look at security, and they'll look at character, and on mission we will take the biometrics and then undertake, when we come back, checks with our 5-country partners. And then as part of the assessment, we actually undertake security and character assessments onshore once we get back, and then that's followed by health checks. And where a refugee doesn't meet all of the requirements, then they can be declined, and the UNHCR are advised.
And all of that happens before they set foot in New Zealand, does it?
That all happens before we make a decision about their resettlement in New Zealand, yes.
Okay, so from the sounds of that, then you would be using the security services, whether it's the SIS or whatever, and also the counterparts in the Five Eyes countries to cross-reference whether there are any concerns there.
Well, I'm not going to go into the details of who we talk to when we do security checks or how we do them, but they are full and comprehensive security checks.
What about in cases where records have been destroyed?
How do you mean destroyed?
Well, from what we've been hearing, there are some individuals whose documents have been destroyed. It does happen, doesn't it, for some who are seeking asylum or refugee status?
Well, that you're talking about there about people who might claim refugee status onshore, but when we are offshore and doing cases for resettlement in New Zealand, then we know that they're referred by the UNHCR, and the UNHCR have gone through a process of registration, identity, like I said, around the assessments of exclusion, and determined that they're actually a refugee and they're in need of resettlement in one of the resettlement countries. And there's 27 resettlement countries, so we're one of those.
Would you, in the normal course of practice, talk to, say, the security company or the guards who'd been dealing with these people on a daily basis? Would that be taken into consideration?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to go into how we make those assessments in detail, but we check the credibility. We look at the refugee claim, we look at their full circumstances, and we'll make an assessment from there. I think it's really important to differ between quota refugees, which are already determined to be a refugee and referred by the UNHCR, versus an asylum claimant who may claim when they're in New Zealand, and then they go through quite a separate process. We don't take anybody from offshore that's an asylum claimant. We only take people who are being found and determined to be refugees and have a need for resettlement as part of that solution by the UNHCR.
And do you know what the status of the people in Manus Island is in terms of official refugee status?
As I said to you earlier, I can't comment on the Manus Island itself. I mean, I don't have enough knowledge to do that.
No, but I mean, the New Zealand government has, since 2013, had an offer on the table, so presumably the apparatus of the New Zealand government and public service has made a judgment on whether there are 150 genuine refugees, and there may well be. I simply don't know. That's why I'm asking an expert.
Yeah, but I think that offer is around people who are... Sorry, that offer is for refugees that have been found to be refugees and are then identified as requiring or needing resettlement. It's not about asylum seekers.
Okay, and so presumably quite a significant New Zealand team would go offshore in a circumstance like this, and this would include, from what you've been saying, security checks, health checks, and that would all be done offshore. What sort of time would that usually take?
Well, when you're right, the missions that go up to do the selection, and I'm talking more broadly around our program, usually travel for a couple of weeks to interview and process a caseload, and that might include our immigration officers, our settlement people, and people that will undertake the risk assessments as well. So you're looking probably at a 2 to 3 week, but it can take longer depending on the complexity of the caseload itself.
And how robust have you found those systems to be?
Well, we continually review, but we are satisfied that they will identify where there are cases that shouldn't be resettled because of character or security concerns or health requirements, and there's around about sort of up to 10% of the caseload has actually declined.
So that's Andrew Lockhart. He is Immigration New Zealand's National Manager for Refugees. We are really trying to cover this from all angles.